What's up, guys? Caleb Giddings here, aka Mr. Revolver, and today we're continuing our series on methods of carry other than what you've come to regard as normal, which, generally speaking, when we think of normal concealed carry, we think of traditional inside the waistband carry, we think of appendix carry, and also inside the waistband. And previously we've covered pocket carry, which has some niches where it fits in, and we've covered ankle carry, which I use regularly when it's long pants season or when I'm driving a car. I actually really like ankle carry. Today we're going to talk about a method of carry that is historically very popular, but has largely fallen out of vogue in modern times due to some difficulties with concealability, access, and that sort of stuff. Which you probably read the title of the video, so you know today we're talking about crossdraw carry. Interestingly, crossdraw carry actually used to be one of the most popular methods of concealed carry, and when you do a little bit of historical digging, it's easy to understand why. When we first started carrying pistols, a lot of people carried them as replacements for swords, right? So the sword was sort of a backup weapon, or in many cases it was a primary weapon. But as the pistol came into vogue, you see it being carried, especially in pictures and stuff like that, in the same position where somebody would carry a sword. And you would access that sword. A right-handed shooter or right-handed sword fighter would access it by going across the body, grabbing it, and then producing it and stabbing or shooting whatever it was that needed to be stabbed or shot. It wasn't until the period around and almost immediately following the American Civil War where you started to see more strong side carry of handguns, and that was because of the war, where people were carrying handguns primarily on horseback and using them as secondary weapons or primary weapons in conjunction with a saber. To get at the saber, you had to still draw it with your dominant hand, so you would carry your pistol on your non-dominant side, on your dominant side, where it could still be accessed with your dominant hand. That was when we started to see, again, the rise of that strong side hip holster that's so common now. But crossdraw remained a very popular and very common method of carry, all the way up through the late 1980s, when it basically evaporated. So today we're going to look at crossdraw, and we're going to look at some of the problems with crossdraw, some of the advantages of crossdraw, and we're going to talk about whether it's still viable as a carry system in today's age. All right, so right up front, let's address the big problem with crossdraw: concealability. I'm going to show you two clips. Both of these are with me carrying a Ruger GP100 357 Match Champion. One is going to be in my IDPA gear, which is not like real world concealment, right? Nobody actually conceals a gun like that. And then the other will be with the crossdraw holster on. So you can see right where the gun is. Here I'm trying to push it back to make it more concealed. There's a huge bulge, harder to access when it's that far back. Now I'm going to push it forward. There's no way you could possibly conceal this. I briefly thought about trying to untuck my shirt and put it over it, and then I'm like, that would be insane. There's no way that's going to work. So yeah, real problems concealing this. So as you can see, there are problems right off the bat with the crossdraw holster and concealability. And I think that's a big part of why it fell out of vogue, is because we're not wearing suit jackets anymore on a regular basis. If we were, I think crossdraw would still be very viable as a concealed carry system, especially based on the data I got when I tested it in terms of draw speed and stuff like that. But because sort of culturally we don't wear jackets and vests as part of our regular attire, it's extremely difficult to conceal a gun at the crossdraw position without some sort of garment that goes over your t-shirt or your shirt or whatever it is that you're wearing, as I discovered and as you saw in that video. So I think, again, that was a big reason why it fell out of vogue as a concealed carry method, is because we stopped wearing suit coats. Now, whether or not you think us not wearing suit coats is a good thing, well, that's up to you. So after I did that, I decided to go along and test it, all right? And after discovering that concealment was going to be an issue, the way I tested it was with traditional open carry, right? So I had a Galco Combat Master that I strapped on, and I ran 3 drills. Single shot from the holster, 2 shots from the holster, 3 shots from the holster. Then I ran those crossdraw, and then I ran them again using my IDPA style concealment. With the single shot from the holster, with the drills All told, the idea was just to get a baseline comparison of which was more effective, which was faster. First up, let's take a look at me running these drills from traditional strong side outside the waistband, a Galco Combat Master holster. $146. $202. $215. All right, so my times for that were, let's go to the notebook. 146 for the first shot, 202 for 2 shots, and 215 for 3 shots. Now, let's take a look at Crossdraw. That was actually faster. That was a 140. This is where I was surprised. The Crossdraw was faster. I don't practice with a Crossdraw holster. I practice strong side OWB all the time, especially for IDPA and especially for USPSA, but the Crossdraw was faster. My single shot was a 140, my 2 shots was a 172, and my 3 shots was a 198. And every single time, my splits were basically the same. It was my first shot that was quicker out of the holster. I went back then and I did it with the IDPA concealment, which I didn't film, and my times were almost identical for IDPA concealment as they were for Crossdraw, 139, 177, and 2 flat. So here's what that told me. It told me that the OWB holster, the Galco Combat Master, requires me to move my arm into a position that is not as biomechanically advantageous, coming back here, winding my shoulder all the way up and reaching back here to get my gun, as my IDPA holster, which is a little bit more forward, a little bit lower, but definitely not as easy to get at as the Crossdraw holster, where my hands are down and you can see the gun's just right there. It's very, very fast. And I have no question in my mind that if I really practiced with Crossdraw, I would be able to hit times that are similar to my very best times drawing from appendix or drawing even from just an open, unconcealed competition holster. Of course, this raises the question, if Crossdraw is so biomechanically efficient and if it's so easy to get a fast draw from Crossdraw, why don't we go back to using it? And it's like I said earlier in the video, it is extremely difficult to conceal a Crossdraw holster. You need some sort of outer garment to go over it, because the best way to put the gun also causes the gun to blade out from your body, making it extremely, extremely difficult to conceal with like a button-down shirt like this or an untucked polo or t-shirt. So you have to have something that goes over it, and we just don't wear coats or vests all that often. I think if you were doing a long drive for open in a, through an open carry state, I think Crossdraw would be great. And I will say that as a way to carry a hunting gun, it makes a lot of sense, especially with that holster I used in the video, which is a Galco holster that's got a snap on it. Oh, one note, I didn't use the snap when I was testing it because the Galco Combat Master that I was drawing from strong side OWB does not have a retention device. But if I was carrying like a hunting gun, that would actually be maybe the way that I went at it, especially if the hunting gun is a backup to a primary long gun or something like that. It puts the gun in a place that's out of the way, but easy to access. So, to answer the question that we asked at the top of the video, is there a place for Crossdraw carry today? The answer to that is yes. Although I don't think it's a good choice for concealed carry necessarily. I think for a hunting environment, if you are an open carry person and you live in a place where that's legal and you're choosing to do it responsibly, I even think it makes sense as an open carry tool. The big downsides that we've talked about, obviously, are the difficulty to conceal. And then there's one other one as well, which I hadn't brought up yet, but I wanted to close the video out with, which is the draw stroke for a cross-draw holster. Sort of involves you flagging anybody that's standing over here, right? So if I'm drawing this gun and I'm right-handed and you're standing right next to me, my muzzle is crossing you. There's no real safe way to do that without maybe muzzling people or something like that. So that's a big drawback, especially, and it's also part of why we don't use it in training environments, because if you're standing on a line full of people drawing your guns, you don't want to be flagging the guy that's next to you the whole time. So, cross-draw, viable, yes. However, very, very, very limited application for cross-draw holsters. But I was a little bit surprised by the data when it turned out that cross-draw is a really, really fast way to get the gun into action. I'm Caleb Giddings. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and do all of those things that you do to make YouTube videos popular. And I'll be back next week with another video.